So we finally got the chickens that I want in this little breeding pen. We've got 4 white rock hens, a white rock cockerel, and there's also an Indian game hen in there. So we're going to see if it's the white rock cockerel over the Indian game hen that's going to produce the fast growing table birds. So they're nicely settled in a pen. We'll go and check in a minute, see if they're using the nest boxes. But it's been wet here, really, really wet these last few days. In fact, it's just started raining again. But you can see behind me just how well the ground holds onto the water here. It is a little bit lower in this section than the rest of this grassed area, but we're just getting tons and tons of rain. It's turning the place like a swamp. We've just been and said hello to the piggies, but I'm not going to feed them this morning until I've fashioned them some sort of feeding trough. And what I've got is a plastic barrel that I'm going to cut in half and screw some lengths of wood to the ends in an attempt to stop them flipping it over and burying it in the mud. The way we've fed them previously is in little round dishes, but the mud's so deep in there, they get pushed to the bottom of the mud, you can't fish them out. That's if you can find them. So I'm going to get this barrel sawn in half, screw 2 pieces of wood to the ends, and hopefully make 2 troughs that they can feed out of. That way the food doesn't get pushed into the mud and lost. I imagine I'm losing quite a lot of the pig feed straight into the mud. Although the pigs will spend hours and hours with their faces sifting through the mud trying to find every last morsel of food, they're not going to find it all. Look at these little muddy piggies. And there they are. They all want the breakfast. But we need to make a better feeding station before I throw any more feed in there. It shouldn't take me long to knock this trough up. But we have got some good news relating to the pigs. I've got an abattoir that's going to take some of these pigs, slaughter them and butcher them for me. And they're going on Monday, which is only 4 days time. Now, one thing that's going to prove to be quite difficult is that out of these 15 piglets, 8 are girls and 7 are boys. I only want to take the boys on Monday. But how do I get the boys only out of this mess? But at least I've got a slaughterhouse that's going to sort them for me, which is going to make things a little bit more quieter around here, enable me to pack out my fridge and freezer and cut the feed bill down by quite a lot. Well, I can see that there's one hen in the coop and another hen halfway up the ladder. So my thoughts are that they're going to want to start laying eggs. Fingers crossed. They're going to be putting the eggs in the right spot. I have picked an egg up the other day. They've been in there 2 or 3 days now. And I picked an egg up from out the corner the other day. But now they're getting used to their new enclosure. Hopefully they'll start putting eggs in the nest boxes, which will keep them nice and clean. Makes them easier to handle and better for eating. So this is the barrel I've got to be cutting in half. I'm going to cut it straight across all the way down in 2 halves, essentially making 2 troughs. And if I can put some pieces of wood across the bottom, making them probably 5 foot in length, screwing this in the centre, I'm hopeful that that will stop the pigs being able to throw them around and secure them in the mud even. As long as I don't fill up with mud and I can still see them for the next day when I'm throwing my food in, it will be a success. And just as you think you've had enough rain, you get a little bit more. Well, that little storm's just passed. We've got some blue skies coming back over, so I'm going to make a dash for it. We've got to clean this barrel out. Now I've opened it, you can see the residue of what was inside, but it's nothing to worry about. It was a non-toxic water-based glue. I think it was starch-based, so a quick rinse out with some water, it'll be good to use. So the barrel's been cut in half. We've cleaned it thoroughly with some clean water. Now I just need to find some wood that will suit as the legs. And I've got some basically pallet wood here that I've rescued off a building site. They're about 4.5 foot, I'd say. Thick enough, strong enough. So what I'm thinking is having a piece of wood and another piece of wood screwed in there, and have it as either one trough, or add the other barrel there and another piece of wood to make it 2 troughs. Decisions. Well, I think if I made it 2 troughs, I won't be able to lift it on my own, so we'll make it 1 trough, and I'll do exactly the same with that one. 2 pieces of wood either side. That way, when they try and lift it, it's going to tip up like that, and they shouldn't be able to flip it over or bury it in the mud. Right, so there we have it. 2 pig troughs. We're going to throw them into the piglets and see exactly how they get on with it. You never know, they'll probably flip it in an instant and it'll be a waste of time. But I've got to give it a go. I have to try something out because we are wasting far too much food. It looks like it's sinking already. Stop standing on it. Let's get another one in. Well, it's working for now. You can really see how deep this mud is. We've had so much rain in the last month, 2 months, it's been ridiculous. That's why this is so bloody sloppy. You can just see the old garage door that I've got in there, just as a hard surface so I can feed them on. Because there's so many pigs in here, they just all want to jump on the same area of feed. We did have the 2 blue bowls in here as well, but the nature that they are, they just get swallowed into this slop. Hopefully these 2 feeders that I've just made will stay above the slop, they won't get filled. They're going to contain the food quite well, I hope, but it's going to get a bit easier after Monday when 7 of these have gone. Having only 8 pigs in here to look after, it's going to be easier on the ground. They're not going to be squabbling so much for the food. It was never really my intention to keep so many of these piglets. What I wanted to do is sell all but 6 and then raise just 6, but unfortunately I only managed to sell 4. It left me with 15, and I thought I'll be able to cope with 15, get them fed, get them to the slaughterhouse and get them butchered, and then I'll be able to supply other people with meat. But next time the big pigs give birth, I'll be keeping back 4 or 6 at a maximum, and the rest will be going to market. I was reluctant to send the last piglets to market because I thought I would get an absolute rubbish price. But it's all part of figuring things out, isn't it? I've never been a farmer before. Didn't quite realise how much damage 15 piglets would have on an area of ground. I'll know for next time. But then again, we've only got these 2 big pigs in a pen twice the size of the piglets, and their area is just as muddy as where the piglets are. So I think it's saying more about the ground and what the ground can cope with than what I can cope with. Like I've said on a previous video, I set myself a rule, and that was not to keep pigs outside in the winter. And this is a prime example as to why not. If you've got better ground than me, you might be able to cope a bit better, but this ground really does hold on to the water. We live and learn. Well, the feeders at least are still just above the mud, which is more than I can say for the round bowls we do use or have used in the past. So I think under normal conditions, this pig feeder would be a good idea. It's going to be useful for me for the next few days whilst I've still got to keep so many pigs. It will keep some of their food out of the mud at least. Perhaps I should start feeding them round the back of their pen. There's still a lot of water on the surface, but it's not like a mud soup that it is the other side. But if I feed them here, it's only going to take them a day or 2 before it looks exactly the same as that side. And that side isn't drying out anytime soon. At least they can come over here and get out of the slop if they need to. But can't get away from the water. I think the biggest problem for me is that it's been so wet, and it's going to be very wet in the coming weeks. I think keeping pigs next time, or piglets for the table, we need to keep them through the summer months when the ground's harder. They can do a lot less damage. They'll grow a lot faster because they'll be warm also. All right, girls, are you settling in? What's Cocky doing? Oh yes, there we go. Still warm. One very nice clean egg in the nest box. Looks like these girls are settling in just fine. It's not a bad size egg. They have only just started laying. Hopefully they'll get a little bit bigger than that. It's good. Excuse me. Excuse me. Oh, bigger than the other. Shame it wasn't in the nest box. So that's 2 eggs we've had from these today. First one in the nest box. The other one in the coop, not far from the nest box, but better than being outside. I'm sure they'll get to grips with it sooner or later. What's up, Moose? Hey, what's up? I've got no more dinner for you. Not till tomorrow. Come on, where you been? Down there, look. You've been digging, haven't you? You've been digging.